Kathy here from Fit Kitty Tries. Today I'm going to show you how to create a template in Photopea, which is a free Photoshop alternative that you can use in your browser just by going to photopea.com. And I'm going to show you how to create a template for a shirt like this one that's got folds in it so that you can place your design on top and not have to edit it every single time. So this is a Bella and Canvas 3001 t-shirt. I got this photo from Creative Fabrica, where I have a subscription and I have access to a bunch of mock-up photos like this, as well as designs that are licensed for print on demand. So I'm going to open up one of those designs right now. Again, I got it off of Creative Fabrica, and you can filter your searches by POD licensed, which means you can use it to create print on demand items. So the first thing I'm going to do is resize it. As you can see right now, as I'm dragging it around, it's kind of messing up the ratio, I guess, or what's it called? Aspect ratio. So when you're resizing, you can click on the shift, hold down the shift key as you resize in order to make sure it stays, you know, in the right aspect ratio and you're not actually just stretching it out in one direction or the other. So click on shift if that's happening for you until it's the right size. And then you can drag and place it onto the t-shirt. If you move your cursor to the corner of these little grab bars on the side, you can also hold to rotate the design. So once I've got it placed kind of where I'd like it, the right size and everything, then we can move on to editing here. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a copy of the background. So if I right click and then duplicate layer, I have a layer called background copy here. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to move that on top of the design to create a layer on top in order to use some of this t-shirt texture to make it look more realistic. So I'm going to change the type of layer from normal, it's just a normal photo layer, to a multiply layer. So when I turn on the multiply filter, you can see it's changed the image here, it's changed the effect, and you can see right here that we've got these lovely little wrinkles going on through our design, right? It's kind of showing these shadows and wrinkles. I find this is the best way to achieve this, but of course this just went and altered the entire image, and so I don't want that. The first step is to right click and click on clipping mask. So this clipping mask tool is really helpful because it'll only apply this layer to the design area on this layer. So if I get rid of the background, it's only being applied here, right? So it's only applying it to that versus applying it to the whole t-shirt, right? Okay, so perfect. That's the first thing I like to do to try and get those wrinkles going on. Now, because I've done this and it's completely changed how the design is meant to look, I do need to add another layer to adjust the color. So that's what I do. I click on hue saturation, and then I play around with these until I feel like my design is kind of the color it should be. Now, I didn't design this design, so I'm not super familiar with what it is supposed to look like. But the best way to do that, again, is to make a copy of that layer, duplicate layer, and we'll just put it on top of everything, and we're just going to drag it out of the way here. So I like to have a copy of the layer and just show me what I'm supposed to make this look like, right? Again, it's changing the entire color of the background, so I can right click on this and turn it into a clipping mask as well. To get back to these controls, if you're not seeing them, you click on that layer, the hue saturation layer, and click on properties here, and that gives us these options. So for starters, we're going to need to go a little lighter, and then we're going to need to saturate that. There we go, we're getting close, right? And then you also might want to kind of adjust it for what it's going to look like printed on a pink background t-shirt, right? It's not maybe going to be as bright as the actual image itself there. So basically you want to play around with these until you're kind of happy with how it looks. Okay, we're getting a little too yellow there. I usually don't play with the hue too much. It kind of just depends on the actual design. It's great if you're using black and white designs, you don't need to worry too much. Okay, yeah, definitely gonna saturate that more. And let's see if I can get the colors nice so that the color of the flowers and the t-shirt are both, and the mom lettering is kind of right. Okay, I almost like that more, and then take the hue down. Yeah, so you can adjust it and play with it however you want. Normally, what I need to do is turn the lightness up as well as the saturation a bit. That's normally what I need to do. However, this particular design is not doing that super nicely. It's also a pink t-shirt, which I don't work with. Let's just call it a day at that. Maybe take that brightness down. There we go. Yeah, let's call it pretty good there. Pretty good. Yeah, we'll say that's decent. Of course, you can go ahead and play around a lot longer with that. I can click on these properties to get rid of them. So again, we've got this here. I can hide this mom thing now. Again, you might want to play with that till you're really happy with it. Sometimes with different designs and different colored designs, you may have to go into this saturation hue layer and play with it a bit so that your design does still resemble the original color. The other thing you can do is with this layer, this multiply layer, you can also change the opacity and the fill as well from 100%. So see how that that helps me get the color back of the original design. So if I turn that off, it looks like this. That can help you as well if you don't need the folds to be as dark, but I like to keep it at 100% and try and use the saturation layer to fix that so that I can keep these nice shadows going on here with the shirt. Awesome. Okay, so that is sort of step one, the simplest way to do that here. That is the most basic thing you can do, and it's really quick and easy. There are a few more things you can do for your design here, and I normally don't do this, but I have seen it done on YouTube, and it can be helpful on certain types of designs. So if you click on this mom layer, we're going to edit it by clicking filter. One of the things I do like to do is sometimes I'll choose a ripple filter. So I go to distort, ripple, and I'll sometimes turn this to about between 25 and 35, okay. And so basically what this does is, if we scroll in here, which you can do by doing Control-Alt, holding Control-Alt, and then you're scrolling on the mouse key, is it makes the lines like a little bit less exact than if we took that ripple filter off. It's pretty subtle, but essentially it makes things just a little bit, yeah, you can see it here with the M. It's kind of got a little bit of ripple to it, right? Versus being completely straight. That can help a lot. I'll usually just put that on there. But the one I was actually thinking of that I don't always do is click on filter, going to liquefy. So I've seen this done, liquefy. Right now we're liquefying the design layer, which is correct. I click on background so that you can see the background, and take the opacity of the design down a little bit so you can see the background a little bit clearer. You can also keep it up all the way, but take it down a bit, and then we're going to scroll in here. And right now these are my settings for my brush, essentially, to liquefy, and the default setting is this liquefy, which is a smudge tool, so you can smudge things, right? Now I've got to unsmudge that. I wonder if I can just go Control Z, Z, Z. Nice, there we go. But what some people like to do is make this smudge tool a lot smaller and kind of indent a little bit where there would normally be a bit of a, you know, maybe a bulge in the shirt. Sometimes just like really subtle like that, right? And maybe drag that out a little. You decide what you think is kind of realistic, right? Or how detailed you want to be here. One of the other tools I like is there's this blowout tool and this shrink tool. For example, here, there's a bit of a shadow here. I might want to shrink that area down a little bit, as if it's being like pulled backwards, versus over here, up here, I might want to blow this up a little just because it's, you know, on a ridge of the shirt. So those are your tools, those are your options. Let me zoom out and see if there's anywhere else we might want to shrink it back a little or blow it up a little. These creases are not really huge, but it can sometimes be easier to use this blow up tool here instead of using the smudge tool, because the smudge tool, you can definitely get a little carried away with the smudging, right? This can just be a really quick sort of cheat way of doing it, right? We just kind of blow those up there. Oops, I don't love that. And then you can also do the opposite, which is shrink them down, right, in the little shadows. So that's a little extreme, but you get the idea, right? You're kind of pulling it backwards away. And what it actually does is it does shrink like the whole design. It does kind of pull it inwards. So I'm liking how this looks for now with those creases. Again, I can turn the opacity down even more so I can really see where are those folds and where is it meant to be. So maybe I'll pull that in a little there. Yeah. Oh, it looks like there's a little bit of a fold here, right? And then a bit bigger over there. So if I want to be really fancy, I could, oops, you got to kind of get right on top of it, right? Kind of blow that up there. But again, because it is this liquefy tool, you have to choose how big or small you want your size to be, how detailed you're going to be in, you know, blowing things out or pulling things in, right? And so I find less is better. It's easy to get carried away. We can just click OK when we're happy with it. Perfect. And so now we've got some of these little ridges, right? However, we did apply the ripple filter, so basically the ripple filter can kind of achieve that on a flat shirt without too much of the folds. But if you then click the ripple filter, sometimes if you've gone ahead and done the liquefy, it might seem a little too much, which right now it is. It's like looking a little weird with the ripple filter there. Okay. And then that is basically it. You are pretty much done here. The only thing is to change your designs, right? So this is a smart object here because it's got this little square, makes it smart. So if you double click on that, what it's going to do is it's going to open up that layer in a separate tab. And what you can do is File, Open in Place, pick another design. I've got another mom design here. Bring that in, right? And then maybe resize it down here. Oops, again, I gotta hold my shift key, or you can also, I think there's a lock key somewhere that allows you to maintain, yeah, aspect ratio. There we go, it's locked now. Okay, let's place that there, great. And then we can hide the other layer. And the only thing you have to do is save it. So press Control S or hit save, and it saves the smart object. We can close this now, and there it is, right? I might want to reopen it again because it's sitting a little too high up. So I might need to drag this all the way down so it's in line with the bottom of my design. Press Control S, see that smart object was updated, great. There we go, now it's a little bit more in the place I'd like it. And right away, I'm pretty happy with how it's looking pretty decently realistic there, right? Let's zoom in a little. I could maybe, let's see what happens when I add the ripple. Does that make it a little bit more realistic? That's the thing with using these liquefy and ripples, is that it's better to kind of do that with each design to fine tune, because we've already gone ahead and used that to kind of puff out certain areas of the design, and now this is looking a little weird. So if I double click on liquefy here, it's going to take me back into those liquefy settings, right? And now I'm thinking that's a little weird because I probably shrunk that in somewhere, and now I might need to just fix that a little bit. So that's why I don't always recommend using these tools until after you've placed your design, and maybe not including them in the template is what I'm trying to say here, but that's how you can fine tune things. Let's hit OK. It's looking all right. The other thing some people like to do is to change the design and take the opacity down. Like if it's black, like may not be as black as the design itself when it shows up on a t-shirt. You might want to take it down a little bit. And then same thing with that hue saturation. Again, you might need to adjust this by clicking here. And let's see what happens when I reset it. So for black designs, using the multiply setting, it doesn't really affect it too much. But again, you can play with these to make sure it looks realistic. Again, for black, it's not really going to matter that much. And then again, because this is a smart object and I have my copy of the smart object over here, I can just make sure it's the same color, right? The same coloration kind of when I'm adjusting this here. Okay, so I think that just about covers it. Now, how do we make sure we save this? So again, here's the smart object. We've saved that. All good. Great. It's all saved in here, all of these layers. If you were an organized person, maybe you'd want to rename them and stuff. But two things we need to do. We can save this template, and then I'll show you how you also like export this to a photo so that you can upload it to your store. So file, save as PSD. So that's the file type it is, and you can save that to your computer, right? So you might want to save that as like template, Bella Canvas 3001 Mauve. Great, click save. And so that's saved as a PSD file, which means when you open it up, this is exactly what you're going to see. And you're going to be able to just click in here to the mom layer and change up the design. Now the other thing, once you've placed your new design, you'll need to export it as a PNG and save it as like an actual picture. There we go. Save, don't worry about it, it's super zoomed in. You can change width, height, all that. Save, great. Now let's go ahead and change that design and save the other one as well. So, yeah, click save here, smart object. Go back to our design. Sometimes it takes a sec. And here it is again. Let me see, I better adjust those filters there to try and get this to be a little closer to the actual color. Saturate that. That's actually looking better. Yeah, there we go. Although it is looking a bit gray, in which case that usually means you need to saturate it more. Although again, this is kind of a very tricky coloration. Yeah, okay, I'm happy with that, just because this color, again, because of the background it's on, it is going to affect the color of the design. Like if this was a white shirt, it wouldn't affect this the same way. So it's actually really good for putting your design on a shirt and making it look like what it might get printed as. You kind of have to use your imagination for how it might be printed. Again, if it were me, if I were doing this, I would probably take a little more time to fine tune all that. Okay, we can hide this layer here. We're going to click File, Export As, and save this as a PNG. There's our other mom shirt, great. Save that, great. Awesome. So now I've got my 2 pictures and they're edited and ready to go. And yeah, that is your tutorial on how to use Photopea to create a template. And now with all of your designs that you want to put on this shirt, you just click on here and File, Open in Place, and put your design. That simple. Click Save and it'll set it up here, and then again you can use those liquefy and ripple filters as well as the hue saturation filter to just finesse it before you save it. So I hope that was helpful. I'm gonna try and make some more videos like this as well as link some of my other resources. Thanks for watching.